This nigga followed me out into the parking lot, recording me.
Body. You know what I'm trying to talk.
Why are you recording
I
me?
was trying to be nice to her, help her out on the machine. Took it to a whole nother level. It's okay. I'm not mad at you, man. Keep working out. It's your thing. All right? Good day. I'm not trying to get a chance to see her. I'm not trying to talk to her.
But you followed me out into the parking lot just so you could
Yes, I did. You
take a picture of you. This is your car?
Everybody get a look at you. You know, you didn't show your face. You didn't show your face, did you? I want to see your body too. Keep working on it. You're doing better. You're looking better. You're looking better. Keep
You're short ass. And then he came right back out again just to come back out. Look at this bitch ass. He's gonna get right into his car. And I'm gonna record him as he drives away. I could not believe this shit. Make sure he sees he's still trying to talk. He's trying to move his car.
Welcome to the Scurv podcast. This young woman, she handled the situation totally wrong. Why would you engage with somebody who you don't know, who's following behind you, videotaping you, and you're smiling about it? The first few seconds of the video, you saw her face, she's smiling, and she's making sure to video record him, right? She's asking if that's his car. She gets into a few words with him from a distance. She calls him short as though he's undesirable, but she's taking the whole situation light. In the current days with attention being currency, and I can't just say the younger generations, but as the older I get, most of the generations are younger generations. But this is not about ageism or criticizing someone because they're younger. It's protocol, procedure that you don't engage or encourage any dialogue, number one, in a potentially dangerous situation. Why would you do this? You know, we're living in a time where too many people are walking around mentally disconnected from reality. That's a fact. And social media is feeding that sickness every single day. What used to stay hidden in a person's imagination is now being fed 24 hours a day through phones, adult content, especially adult content, live streams, dating apps, private messages, and nonstop visual stimulation. And whatever you're into, you can find it. The line between fantasy and reality has become dangerously thin, and many people do not realize how serious this issue has become until something violent or fatal happens, and you see it all the time. But situations like this are not funny anymore because people today are mentally unpredictable. We do not know who is stable and who is one bad thought away from snapping. Many people still move through public spaces with outdated thinking. They assume that because someone smiles, acts calm, or speaks politely, that person must be harmless. That is no longer a safe assumption. There are individuals walking among us who are carrying deep mental issues, unhealthy obsessions, emotional damage, substance abuse problems, and fantasy-driven delusions. Some of them are addicted to adult content and no longer separate what they consume online from real life. They begin projecting those fantasies onto strangers they see in public. A person may look at someone online every day until their brain begins creating imaginary emotional connections. Then one day, they see a person in public who resembles what they've been obsessing over online, and suddenly their mind begins attaching fantasy to reality. The stranger walking past them has no idea what thoughts are running through that person's mind. No idea at all. Meanwhile, the obsessed individual may already feel emotionally connected, rejected, excited, angry, or entitled. That is the danger. This issue is not only about men targeting women either. Women can stalk men can stalk men, women can stalk women. I've seen it all in every category in my life. Obsession has no gender. Mental imbalance has no gender. Dangerous fixation has no gender. In this modern world, people are lonely, emotionally damaged, addicted to fantasy, desperate for attention, and mentally overstimulated by the internet. All of that creates unpredictable behavior, and people must stop underestimating how dangerous public interactions can become. The internet has changed the human mind in ways many people still refuse to admit. We're exposed to more images, more bodies, more lifestyles, more fantasies, and more stimulation in one day than people years ago experienced in months. Think about that. Constant exposure affects the brain. It changes desires. It changes expectations. It changes emotional control. Many people are mentally drowning in fantasy while pretending to function normally in public, and you don't know that this is what's on their mind. Some individuals spend hours consuming explicit content, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Following influencers obsessively, studying strangers online, and fantasizing about lifestyles and relationships that do not exist. Over time, their ability to understand healthy boundaries weakens. They begin feeling entitled to access people emotionally, physically, or sexually because online culture has normalized overexposure and constant access. This is why people must stop treating strange behavior as harmless entertainment. When somebody records a stranger without permission, follows them, constantly watches them, or invades their space, you'd think people would understand that those are warning signs. Those behaviors may appear small at first, but many dangerous situations begin with small actions that people ignored. Too many people also crave attention so badly that they ignore danger signs because the attention feels flattering. Attention has become currency in modern society. Likes, views, compliments, followers, and validation have become addictive. Some people enjoy being watched because social media has trained them to connect visibility with worth. But the problem is that not all attention comes from healthy minds. A dangerous person may appear charming at first. They may seem confident, calm, attractive, funny, or respectful. But underneath that surface could be obsession, instability, rage, possessiveness, or fantasy-driven thinking. Some people do not reveal who they truly are immediately. They slowly move closer while pretending to be harmless until their behavior becomes controlling, threatening, or violent. This is why people must learn how to protect their energy their privacy, and their personal safety in public spaces. We can no longer afford to move through life carelessly, assuming everybody means well. One of the biggest mistakes people make today is entertaining behavior that should immediately raise concern. If somebody approaches you in a way that feels off, invasive, obsessive, or disrespectful, do not turn it into playful conversation. Do not stand there debating with them. Do not encourage prolonged interaction just to prove confidence or toughness. People today are emotionally unstable in ways that are difficult to predict. Some are under the influence of substances, some are dealing with untreated mental illness, some are carrying deep loneliness and rejection. Others have built entire fantasy relationships inside their minds with people they have never even spoken to. You cannot always tell by appearance who is mentally dangerous. A stranger may interpret friendliness as romantic interest. A smile may be misread as invitation. A short conversation may become an obsession inside an unhealthy mind. Many are heavily influenced by unrealistic online fantasies, toxic content, and constant overstimulation. They may believe they deserve access to a woman simply because they're attracted to her. Rejection then becomes deeply personal to them because their fantasy world has already convinced them that a connection exists. At the same time, men also need to be careful. There are women who become obsessive, manipulative, controlling, or dangerous. There are people who study your routines online, monitor your movements, create fake emotional bonds, and slowly insert themselves into your life. Some stalk silently, some manipulate emotionally, some become violent when they feel ignored or rejected. People must stop assuming danger only looks one way. There's so many ways that a person could be dangerous, and they could be the most charming looking person that you'd ever want to meet. We must also become more aware without becoming paranoid. Awareness means understanding the times we're living in and adjusting accordingly. It means paying attention to behavior patterns. It means trusting discomfort when something feels wrong instead of dismissing it. People should limit how much of their daily routines they expose online. Posting every location, every gym visit, every restaurant, every relationship issue, and every movement gives unhealthy people access to personal information they do not need. If someone makes you uncomfortable in public, create distance quickly and calmly. Do not escalate situations unnecessarily. Do not argue longer than necessary. Do not try to humiliate unstable people publicly because wounded egos mixed with mental imbalance can become dangerous very fast. Pay attention to repeated appearances, excessive compliments, boundary violations, constant staring, following behavior, unwanted recording, obsessive messaging, or emotional intensity that feels unnatural for a stranger. Those are not things to casually ignore. Too many tragedies begin with ignored warning signs. People must also stop allowing social media culture to normalize unsafe behavior. Recording strangers without permission should not be treated as entertainment. Obsession should not be romanticized. Harassment should not be dismissed as confidence. We are seeing too many people lose touch with basic respect and healthy human boundaries. The reality is simple. We do not know what strangers are carrying mentally. We do not know their emotional state. We do not know their fantasies, addictions, frustrations, medications, traumas, or intentions. That is why public awareness matters now more than ever before. The world has changed, whether people want to admit it or not. We're dealing with a society that is emotionally overstimulated, mentally exhausted, spiritually disconnected, and heavily influenced by digital fantasy. Human beings are consuming more artificial stimulation than ever before, and it is affecting how people think, react, and interact with each other in real life. This is why people cannot afford to laugh off warning signs anymore. One careless interaction can become a dangerous situation very quickly. What seems like harmless attention today could become obsession tomorrow. What feels flattering in one moment could become threatening in the next. Protecting yourself does not mean living in fear. It means moving with wisdom. It means understanding human behavior realistically instead of emotionally. It means recognizing that not everybody approaching you is mentally healthy, emotionally balanced, or spiritually grounded. Boundaries are no longer optional in today's world. They are necessary and very much mandatory. People must stop assuming they can always talk their way out of a dangerous situation. Some individuals are operating from fantasy, rage, entitlement, or emotional instability. Logic may not reach them because they are no longer thinking clearly in the first place. We are living in an era where people desperately need attention, validation, connection, and control. Combined with social media addiction and fantasy-driven thinking, that creates dangerous possibilities in everyday public spaces. Awareness, caution, emotional intelligence, and strong boundaries are no longer extreme ideas. They are survival tools for modern life. You know, even before social media really took control, I've observed situations where obsessions grew and manifested like crazy. Let me tell you one of them. Back in the day, which I would say the mid-90s, I discovered what it was like to drive a dollar van. And for those who don't understand what a dollar van is, many years ago, I believe it was 1979, there was a bus strike in New York City. And many people to take their family to the subway station, because if you lived out in Queens, the trains only went but so far. Then you had to go further taking a bus. So that was called a two-fare zone. And when the buses went on strike, there was no way for many people who lived deep in Queens to get to the subway. So their families started to take them to the subway. Some people who were more enterprising had their vans, and they would take people to the subway, drive back down, take them back up, and do this all day. They made a tremendous amount of money. And if they didn't do it full time, they still made a little extra cash in the morning rush hour and also the evening rush hour. That being said, once I discovered the amount of money that could be made, thanks to my friend Gerald, who was a co-worker with me in Home Depot, I started to do it. And then I realized how much money I could make. So I did it from early in the morning until not too late at night, but sometimes late at night. So I'm getting around all of these people, driving. They got to know me, had a really nice fancy van. For those who remember, the Q9 route, sometimes the Q6, the Q40, the van that had Sir Lance written on the back, right? So I'm driving this van and everybody knew me. I had the neon lights and the chrome rims and the nice sound system on the inside, and always kept my van clean. So people like to ride with me. Plus I was mannerable. And if you wanted to talk, we can talk. So one night I was coming home, and that was it for me. And there was a young lady that I knew in my neighborhood, and she was walking down the street. She's a couple years younger than me and grew up under me. But she's a grown woman now. And so she saw me and she knows what I do. So she's like, Lance, please, I gotta get to New Jersey. I gotta get to New Jersey quick, and I'm running late. If I take public transportation, I'm gonna be real late. So I said, well, what's the rush? I mean, like, I'm not being nosy, although I already knew. And she told me, but I already knew. She was a dancer. She was a stripper. So she wanted to go to this club to go make some money. So she had an overcoat on and she had some scantily clad, stuff under it. So I took her. And so I went there. She wanted me to wait for her. It was extremely cold outside. So I had to go inside the club. So here I am, thought I was going home, but now I'm in another state in a strip joint, looking at all of these girls stripped naked for money while guys toss singles and dollar bills, $10, $20, whatever. And I was kind of bored. I understand those worlds and I knew about those worlds, but I was going to wait. So when it was time to go, my friend, I'll call her my friend because we grew up together, she said, listen, Lance, there's a couple of the girls that are going back to New York City and they want to know if you can give them a ride because you got this big van outside. I said, sure, no problem. They all offered to pay. So one of them lived in the Bronx. Two of them lived in Brooklyn. One or two were in Manhattan, and my friend lived in Queens. So it was a full packed van. So I made some money that night. Did pretty good. I was real tired, but I was glad for the connection. So therefore, when some of these girls who took my card wanted to have the same situation, I ended up going in a lot of strip clubs. People got to know me. Some of the owners, they saw me. They say, hey, man, you're not going to participate? You don't like what you see? I'm like, listen, I'm just a driver. You know what I mean? I've traveled through many worlds and I understand this. So after a while, I get to know these young ladies and they started to formulate different trips with me in mind. Instead of just going to one state over or in the city and have me wait for them, they wanted to go up and down the East Coast. So we went down as far as possibly North Carolina from New York City. And these trips weren't just a one-day thing. They planned it out a week in advance. So I would go with these young ladies and they got to know me really good. They felt safe around me. They knew my driving was good. And so they paid me up front, half, and they took care of the food and the lodging and everything. And when they got their money, the larger amounts, they paid me the other half. That was fine. I made off pretty good. But imagine spending a whole week with strippers from one weekend to the next. You get to hear their conversation. You get to hear their issues and their problems. I got to know them very well. Some of them were a bit irritating because they were young. And one or two I suspected had a problem with substances as far as cocaine is concerned. And so I had to speak to my friend, let her know, listen, I can't drive and have these young ladies have this stuff on them. I was legally a for-hire vehicle. It didn't have anything to do with me, but I didn't want the foolishness. One or two of them eventually would get in altercations at the club with rude men and not know how to handle them. And that's how I learned how a lot of these men, not to throw off on some of the brothers, but they're mentally unstable. They get around women and they can't handle the nudity. They can't handle the sexual or sexualized atmosphere, and they just get crazy. Now, here's another reason why social media has amplified so much. And let me continue the story. I explained everything to pretty much explain this. I learned from these strippers that there was a adult magazine that featured Black women back in the 90s. I don't know when it ended. Maybe it could still be around. I don't know when it started. But it was named Blacktail Magazine. And Blacktail Magazine was really a goal for many strippers to find themselves featured in. They'd feature maybe 2 or 3 different women, several photos, several spreads, as they called it. And they would have stories and different things in that periodical. It was really just to show naked women. And many of these women were strippers. So in that little industry, that little circle of New York City Black strippers who ran the whole club circuit, it was a boost to their value when they entered a strip club if they were featured in Blacktail Magazine. And I knew a lot of the ones who were there. So here's where I learned about obsession. There were many guys who just got out of prison, serving small sentences or 15, 20 years almost, and more. And one of the magazines that they allowed in certain facilities, I don't know which ones, but I know they were state facilities, or smuggled in, was Blacktail Magazine. This is just like the internet now. Before, the internet was around, but it wasn't like it is now. So these guys would, to be honest, they would get these magazines somehow, some way, through other buddies who had people bring it in or whatever, but they'd have these magazines. And of course, you know what they were doing with the magazines. They were masturbating and looking at the pictures of these women who were attractive, but they showed themselves, okay? Now, here's where the obsession begins. These guys, not all of them, some might have had a healthier mentality and not get attached. Some, fantasy became reality. They would get a magazine, they would fixate on one woman. Here they are masturbating every night for years over these crumpled pictures, see, that they kept for years because in their mind, man, that's my girl. Oh, that's my wife. I can't wait to get out and see her. Now, they may not have known that they would ever run into this person. But one of these guys, or several, right? But let's just pick one situation. One of these guys may get out of prison. He may have family, he may not. He may have access to work, he may not. Who knows? But as a release, because he hasn't been around a woman in a long time, he takes the shortcut and goes to a strip joint, right? He goes to this strip joint. The women are dancing. He's kicked back. The colored lights are flashing. The music is blasting. He's taking a few drinks. And then he sees the woman that he stroked himself to for many, many years. He cannot believe it in his mind. And he doesn't realize this, but in his mind, that's his woman. That's his girl. Oh my God, that's my girl. That's my wife. And he really believes this because this man has experienced many orgasms gazing at her photos, and there's a connection in his mind. So he may approach her, right? Now, mind you, what I'm saying is what happens with many men, not just the one story. Depending on who it is, depending on their mental stability, that's what decides how he deals with seeing this woman who he's fantasized over years with. It may get pushy. He may push up on her and scare her, and security has to throw him out. He may be cordial. And with a lot of these strippers, to be honest, not all of them, but many of them, they will have relations with you for a negotiated fee. And most of us know that. And they'll go back into what they'll call the VIP section. Very important person, but we know what that means. And it's not super secluded, but it may be a huge lounge chair. And that woman will take care of your desires and your needs for a fee, right? And these are things that I've seen with my own two eyes when I would travel with some of these young ladies. And it wasn't just in strip joints and public clubs. It may have been parties, private parties, bachelor parties where men are about to get married and they want to have that last touchy-feely or more before they get married. And a lot of wives don't know that. But then again, a lot of wives have bachelorette parties. And in my younger day, when I was well-built and muscular as a bodybuilder, I used to do my own form of adult entertainment. So I know about this very well for a long time. Too much information, right? Anyway, he does his thing and he may want to keep seeing her. Maybe she made good money from him and she'll keep him as a regular client. But like I said before, I've been to private parties, private house parties, and I'll go in with them. I'm not going to wait around. I'm going to go inside with them. And I've gotten to such a close relationship with some of these young ladies, nothing sexual at all. But they would trust me. As they were dancing and the guys were throwing them money, they'd pick the money up and hand it to me. And I remember one party, there were 4 girls I took, and I gave them each a pocket. So the front left pocket, this is your pocket, the front right, and the 2 rears. I'm not stealing their money. They trusted me. We have a bond. And this was at a particular bachelor party that was held for a policeman, a New York City policeman. And many of his buddies who work with him showed up in uniform, and some of them were off. And they were very leery as to who I was because they didn't know me and they didn't know what capacity I would deal. Maybe I was there to catch people in the act of doing something or not, but there was a guy from our neighborhood that was a cop, and he let them all know he grew up with me and I'm cool. You can let it all hang out. Lance is not gonna tell anything. And boy, I'm not gonna tell anything. What I'll say is that what I saw some people do in uniform, unbelievable. So thine eyes have seen many things. We can put it that way. But magazines are one thing, but social media, adult sites where you can see unlimited women, unlimited situations. However deep you want to go, you can find it online. I think many of you know that. And it never ends. We get into specific fetishes. Then after a while, that's not as effective to be as satisfying after we viewed it. So now we look for other things and you keep clicking on things and there's more stuff. It's just like YouTube. Now, many of you will never admit that you went to a porn site. But me, I have many things sent to me because I know a lot of these young ladies, and I know a lot of young ladies that were in adult entertainment that I knew personally. Because of the gyms that I went to, they go there to work out, different worlds I'd explore and observe, but never got into, but I saw them. So I know a lot about the legitimate world and the underworld that way. And trust me, a lot of these young ladies are not safe. Now, you don't have to be a stripper. You don't have to be an adult entertainer, because now regular women are getting on and showing their bodies and showing their butts and scantily clad, and they're taking this attention as a joke. A lot of them are trying to make money, so it doesn't have to be a porn site anymore. Many people are doing amateur porn. Before, the porn industry from, say, the early 80s and before, it was dominated by the small hats. They owned so much. I can tell you that personally. I've spoken to many, right, who were trying to get me into certain things. But when we started to have our own cameras, our own smartphones, and access to the internet, it's a wrap. But people will obsess over you because their brains are burnt. One fetish after another, and people get bizarre in their desires. And they're walking around in the street looking normal. You're in a supermarket walking past this person in the aisle. They're acting normal, but you might trigger them off according to how you look when matched up with their fantasies and their fetishes. Now all of a sudden they're behind the line, the checkout line. You don't know that they have these things in their head. And here you are on your phone talking to a girlfriend. You might live in a certain subdivision and you say, wow, you know, that let's make up a name for the subdivision. Oh, it's the Scurv Estates. It's a really nice gated community that I live in. Well, this person just heard where you live. And that's all they need. It may be gated, but they can wait for you. They can follow you home. They can somehow get past security if you have it. We have so much information out there on social media that if a person really, really wanted to do their own personal detective work and stalk you, and this is not everybody because a lot of you young ladies and the men have gotten smarter, but now it's a whole different world. And things can be lifted, things can be found out. They have sites. Listen, I have found people that I needed to get in contact with, and so I was taught the ropes by many people who have hacker abilities. I'm not a hacker. I don't do anything illegal online. I don't obsess over people. But in order to find certain people in my family that are distant or certain friends that I lost contact with, I can search a lot better than most people. I've learned a few tricks of the trade, and it's scary. And it's scary, down to the phone numbers. Not just these sites that you pay to find out about people, but just stuff that you would know when you know how to string it together, you can get it. And I say to myself, oh my God, imagine a person who is a stalker. Imagine a person who is mentally imbalanced, who knows where you live, who gets off on getting close to you and you don't even know it. It's a very dangerous world out here. And even the people who wouldn't do anything to you, some get a thrill from finding out where you live, just knowing other people who you know. Look at Facebook. You have a friends list. And I'm glad many of you are getting smart with blocking your friends list, because you have people who will go down your friends list and try to friend them in order to get a different perspective on you. It happened. This happened to me several times. I've had to kill certain Facebook pages. Yeah. That you see this person who is a friend of yours, but not really a real friend. But because of like me doing this stuff online, I say, okay, you can be my friend, you can be my friend. But I have to block my friends list because I've seen people in the past, decade and a half ago, Facebook, or 20 years ago when Facebook first came out, they friended people I grew up with. I'm like, this is weird. You know, and I've learned tricks to see who is really watching me. People will make false profiles and talk with you as though they're a new acquaintance, and it's the same old person who you knew from before, who did some foul stuff, but they get off on that, watching you every minute, trying to learn about you. This is why I'm so glad I left America. That's not the reason why, but that was a perk. What, are you gonna stalk me out in Africa, way up in the mountains? Maybe you could. You better climb that wall. You better come in through the window that has bars on it, and you'll ultimately meet something else that you really don't want to meet. So that level of anonymity is there, although this is a whole new place where people still know me from online, even from before I came here. All I'm saying is you don't have to be paranoid, just be aware. Just be aware, because you don't know what you represent to this person in their mind. You might look like somebody that they desire. You might be shaped like somebody they desire. You might trigger off a fetish that's developing within their mind. And they're approaching you based on that, not based on a real friendship or some type of common connection. I mean, if you go to a crochet class every Wednesday, you know, and there's somebody there that you know, they're into the same thing, well, you have a common interest. But did they join that crochet class to meet you because they saw that you go there? You have to go back. You have to go and back engineer lots of things, because people will take their time and get around you, but you are more open than you think. Be careful of how you move online, and also be careful how you move in real life. Let me tell you something. Just like the woman here who came out of the gym, a lot of guys are creepy and they're in gyms. Now you're gonna see shapely women. You're gonna see some of them bending over, doing certain exercises. Okay, they're exercising. And I know some women come to the gym to get attention, but let's say they don't. You got men who are there not really to work out. They're there to pick up women. They're there to watch them and get their thrill on in a very creepy way. If you see somebody you like, talk to them. Approach them legitimately, not in some creepy way where you want to be next to them where they're exercising and stuff. Let me tell you something. I did bodybuilding in my teen years up until 22 years old. And I've been to many gyms. There were women in those gyms. The guys who came to the gym back in those days, they came to the gym to work out. They'll notice a woman. They might peek at her through a reflection of the mirror or whatever, but they didn't want to be caught in a creepy way. They came there to work out. These were bodybuilders going into competition. They weren't there. They had enough attention from women. They didn't have to go out that way. It was amusing. They might look or whatever, chuckle or say something to the next guy. under their breath, but it was none of this creepy, stalking type behavior. It just wasn't that way. And if they felt a need to talk to a woman, they would talk to her straight up. Hello, my name is so-and-so. I noticed you're here. You're new here. If you need any help, I'm glad to help you. And I do find you very attractive, but we'll get to talk maybe another time. Let it go. Don't push up on somebody. Men these days are out of their mind lots of times because they don't know the proper way to approach a woman. Number one, right? They're coming at them looking like horny dogs, drooling over their bodies, whether they have their bodies hanging out, exposed or not. As a man, you are not supposed to just go crazy over that and make it obvious that you just want to bed her down. You know what I mean? Talk to her. I mean, she might be just as horny and want to bed you down. You don't know that. But get to know a person. Get into the mind. It may be where you don't do anything at all, but you met a good friend. And men think that the only thing they have to do with a woman is just get her in the bedroom and then ghost her. That's crazy. There are many women that I know that are drop dead gorgeous that people that I knew said, oh, I know you're sleeping with her. Oh, look at her body. But you don't know her mind. Yeah, I've been given so-called credit for betting down women that we were just friends. And guys, they think that one way. And when you think in a balanced way, things pretty much will develop. It'll be very nice. So just be careful. Just be careful. No matter where you are. Look, and you may say, well, you know what? I got a bonnet on, I got some house slippers on, and a house coat, and I ran out to take out the garbage. A dude might be checking you out on that because he might have a bonnet, house coat, slipper fetish. You never know. You never know. There's so many different things now, again, with the substances and the mental instability. So please, if somebody is doing that to you and recording you in public, you don't take it as a joke. You don't take it as a compliment. You handle it accordingly and get on up out of there and don't engage people. Is that your car? Oh, you're too short. And she's smiling. That could have been her last day. Not to think gory, but it has happened. I'm quite sure you see the videos that are out there on YouTube and different platforms, news stories and videos of tragic endings of people who are weird and imbalanced, stalk people, and it was a fatal situation. And again, like I said, this could be man on man, this could be woman on woman, this could be all kind of secret stuff going on. There's a lot of things that go on in the dark, and it's no more now than it was before, but it's exposed now because we have the platforms to observe these things. Anyway, let me know your feedback on how you felt about my words, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Make sure to go to landscurvx.com and subscribe. It's free, and you get all of the content that we don't put out on regular social media that may be a little more risque. All right? Hit me up anytime. My number's on the banner. Information is always there. Much love to you all. Scurv out. Peace.